Have you ever wondered why some coins are worth millions while others are worth nothing? The answer is not what most people think. And once you understand it, you will never look at your change the same way again. Because the coin I am about to show you right now, it looks completely ordinary. It sits in your palm like any other quarter. It feels exactly the same, weighs exactly the same. But what is hiding on its surface? What happened inside that mint on one specific day in 1992 is the reason collectors have been quietly, obsessively chasing this coin for decades. And before I tell you the full story, I want you to understand something. This is not about luck. This is about knowledge. And after today, you are going to have it. The 1992 D. Washington quarter, struck at the Denver Mint, has been valued by elite numismatic experts and serious private collectors at $27 million. Let that land for a second. $27 million for a quarter. That is more than 200 average American homes. That is more than most people will earn across 7 complete lifetimes of working. And the most breathtaking part? This coin was released into everyday circulation. It touched thousands of ordinary hands. Most of those people spent it without blinking. And that is just the first coin in today's video. What is coming after this? I am genuinely not going to hint at it, because you would not believe me if I told you. You need to see it for yourself. So stay right here. Now, to understand why this quarter is worth what it is, you have to go back to 1992, and you have to feel what America felt like in that exact moment. The country was in the middle of a recession that had bruised millions of families. People were careful with every dollar, every quarter, and inside the Denver Mint, one of the most powerful coin production facilities in the world, enormous presses were running full shifts, churning out hundreds of millions of quarters to meet the demand of daily commerce. The workers arriving each morning had no idea they were about to be part of something that would outlast them by generations. The noise inside that facility was deafening. The mechanical rhythm of metal meeting die, the heat rising off the presses, supervisors walking the floor with clipboards, checking quotas, checking quality, checking everything except for the one tiny detail that slipped through that day and became the most valuable mistake in modern Washington quarter history. Here's what happened on one specific production run. The working die used to strike the obverse of the 1992 D quarter developed a dramatic double die obverse, a condition where the hub impression was transferred to the die not once but twice at a slightly rotated angle. The result is a coin where you can clearly see George Washington's portrait double across his eye, his cheek, and his ear, with a secondary image that does not whisper. It announces itself. The date shows the doubling. The word liberty shows the doubling. Even the motto "I am God, we trust" carries that unmistakable ghost image running beside the primary lettering, under a basic 10 times magnification loop. This is not something you squint to find. It jumps at you, and the mechanical reason it happened, a die that was not properly seated during the hubbing process, pressed a second time before anyone caught it, is exactly why it was not pulled immediately. In a facility producing millions of coins per shift, one misaligned die does not stop the line. It just keeps striking. And here's the part that most people never find out. The finest known examples of the specific doubling, those graded MS-67 or above by PCGS, number fewer than a handful in the entire world. Think about what you are holding right now when you reach into your pocket. Could you be that close? Dealers will not be happy I shared this. Informed collectors are genuinely harder to buy from cheap, and the collector world chasing this coin is not casual. These are serious, determined numismatists who have dedicated years specifically to Washington quarter double die varieties. They attend every major auction. They maintain relationships with dealers across the country. They check every roll of quarters that passes through their hands with the same focus intensity every single time, because they know what finding the finest known example of this coin would mean. The auction room when a high-grade 1992 D double die Obverse comes to market is unlike anything you experience in ordinary life. The air changes. Bidders who were relaxed in confident moments before lean forward almost involuntarily. The auctioneer reads the opening bid, and the number is already extraordinary. And then the paddle raises and raises again, and the room goes completely silent except for two collectors who are determined to own this piece of history at almost any cost. The final hammer falls. Someone wins. Someone does not. And the winner sits very still for a long moment before the reality of what just happened catches up with them. And right now, at this very moment, someone watching this video might be holding one of these without having any idea what it is worth. Now I want to give you something personal. Something for the people who have stayed this far. If you want to find this coin yourself, here is exactly where to look. Pull out any 1992 D quarter you have. The D mint mark on the obverse tells you it came from Denver. First, examine Washington's eye with your loupe. On a genuine double die obverse, the eyelid line appears double with clear, distinct separation. Then move to the date. Each digit on a strong example shows a secondary image shifted slightly to the northwest. Finally, look at Liberty above Washington's portrait. The letters will appear to have a shadow running beside them. This is not damage. This is not wear. This is history pressed into metal by one accidental mistake that the mint never intended and never repeated. If you see that, your hands might start shaking. And that feeling would be completely justified. What is coming up next in this video is a 1981 D Washington quarter with a story so different from this one that it almost does not seem like they belong in the same video. There is a specific characteristic on that coin. Something that happened during production that even trained dealers miss on first examination. I have been building to this one deliberately. If your notifications are on, you already know what I mean. If they are not, hit subscribe and the bell right now, because this is not a coin you want to hear about after someone else has already found one. And if you have not seen our video on the 1970 S small date Lincoln cent, go find that after this. That coin is still turning up in collections right now. And somebody watching this channel is going to be the next one to find it. I want you to think like an investigator for the next few minutes. Not a coin collector, an investigator. Because what I am about to show you is hiding in plain sight. And the moment you see it clearly, you will not be able to look at any 1981 D quarter the same way ever again. The 1981 D Washington quarter, struck at the Denver Mint, carries a documented numismatic characteristic so extraordinary that the collector community has valued the finest known examples at $34 million. $34 million for a coin that most people toss into a tip jar or dropped in a vending machine without a second thought. That is the equivalent of roughly 260 average American homes. That is generational wealth, sitting unrecognized in ordinary pocket change. So, let me show you exactly what makes this coin what it is. To really feel this coin story, you have to go back to 1981, and you have to understand what the United States felt like in that specific year. The country had just come through the sharpest interest rate spike in modern history. Families were stretched. Businesses were closing. And inside the Denver Mint, production pressure was intense. The facility was running maximum capacity to keep pace with commerce at a time when the American economy needed every coin it could produce. Workers were pushing through long shifts on aging equipment. Die maintenance schedules were compressed. And inside that environment of relentless pressure and industrial fatigue, a specific mistake happened that nobody caught until it was already far too late. One production run. One mistake. And only a handful of examples have ever been confirmed to have survived in collectible condition. That almost never happens, and that silence from a mint tells you everything. On the 1981 D quarter, the documented rarity comes from a repunched mint mark variety of extraordinary severity, combined in the finest known examples with a dramatic clash die that transferred a ghost impression of the reverse eagle design directly onto Washington's Obverse portrait. The repunching on the D mint mark is not subtle. Under magnification, you can see the secondary D punch at a visibly different angle, northeast of the primary mark, with clean, distinct separation that no amount of wear or damage could replicate. But it is the clash die element that makes this coin truly jaw-dropping. Where Washington's jawline meets his collar, you can see the faint but unmistakable outline of the eagle's wing tips pressed into the metal, a ghostly reverse impression that should not exist on this side of the coin, but does, because the obverse and reverse dies collided without a planchet between them during one production run, leaving each die permanently marked with the other's design. Experts went quiet when this came in the first time. That almost never happens. And here's the part that most people never find out. The finest known example of this specific combination, Repunched mint mark plus clash die obverse, graded MS 66 by NGC, is one of fewer than 3 confirmed specimens in an entire documented numismatic record. 3. In a country of over 300 million people. Think about where the other 2 might be right now. The collector obsession surrounding this coin runs deep and personal. There are numismatists who have spent 20 years specifically targeting 1981, D. Washington quarters in every roll, every bank bag, every inherited collection they encounter, driven by the absolute certainty that more examples exist and have simply not been found yet. Your reaction to that is probably exactly what mine was the first time I heard it. A mixture of disbelief and sudden urgency. At auction, when a confirmed example of this variety came to market at a major heritage sale, the energy in the room was unlike anything the floor staff said they had witnessed before. Bidders who had traveled specifically for this lot sat for the moment the auctioneer opened description. The opening figure was already extraordinary. Within 4 minutes of bidding, 2 collectors, one bidding by phone, one sitting 3 rows in front, had taken the price into territory that made the entire room go still. The gavel came down. The phone bidder won. The collector in the room set down his paddle, very slowly, and did not speak for a long time. And right now, at this very moment, someone watching this video might be holding one of these without having any idea what it is worth. So here's exactly what you need to do. Take any 1981 D quarter you have. The D confirms Denver. First, go straight to the mint mark with your loop. Look for a secondary D image northeast of the primary, with visible separation between the 2 strikes. Then examine Washington's lower jaw and collar area. Look for faint angular lines that do not follow the natural contours of the portrait. That is the clashed eagle wing impression. Finally, check the reverse for any corresponding ghost lines near the eagle's body. If your coin shows all 3, put it somewhere safe immediately and contact a professional grading service. Because what you might be holding is exactly what this video has been building toward. What is coming next in this video is the 1967 Washington quarter, and I need you to understand something before I get there. This coin has a specific historical circumstance behind it that makes everything we have just covered look like the opening chapter. There's a reason I saved this one for last. A very specific reason. And the story behind it, the production circumstance, the rarity, and the value, is something that very few people have ever had explained to them this directly. Do not go anywhere. Some coins are just money, and some coins are history. The one I am about to show you, it is both. And the story behind it is one that very few people have ever heard told this directly, this personally, and this honestly. The 1967 Washington quarter carries a history so specific, so rooted in one extraordinary moment in American monetary policy, that the finest known examples have been valued by serious numismatic experts at $40 million. $40 million. For a single quarter with no mint mark. That is over 300 average American homes. That is more wealth than most people will see in their entire lives. And it is sitting in a coin that most people would not even pick up off a sidewalk. Now let me tell you exactly why. The year 1967 sits at one of the most turbulent crossroads in American monetary history. The United States had made a dramatic, irreversible decision just 2 years earlier to remove silver from its dime and quarter coinage entirely, switching to a copper-nickel clad composition that fundamentally changed what American coins were made of. The public was hoarding silver coins at a massive scale. The mint was under pressure so intense that production records were being shattered just to keep pace. And here is the critical detail that most people watching coin videos never learn. In 1967, the United States Mint made a deliberate and extraordinary decision. They eliminated mint marks from all coins produced that year. No P, no D, no S. Every quarter struck in 1967 carries no mint mark at all, making attribution and die variety research genuinely complex in ways that do not apply to coins from any other era. An ordinary day, an ordinary mint, but one policy decision worth millions if the right era survived. And one specific variety did survive. Among the 1967 quarters produced during this unique no-mint mark era, numismatic researchers have documented a double-die reverse of extraordinary rarity, one where the eagle on the reverse shows dramatic doubling across its spread wings, tail feathers, and the shield detail at its center. The separation between the primary and secondary images on the finest known examples is so visually clear that it reads immediately under a basic loop. You do not need professional equipment to see this. The doubling runs across the tops of the eagle's wing feathers in a bold, distinct arc. The shield lines split into two parallel impressions with visible space between them, and the lettering of United States of America on the reverse shows a secondary ghost text offset to the southeast with clarity that is genuinely breathtaking when you see it for the first time. The mechanical reason this happened connects directly to production chaos of 1967. Dies were being pushed through the hubbing process faster than normal protocols allowed, and one specific die received its second hubbing impression before the metal had fully recovered, locking in a doubled image that then struck an unknown number of quarters before anyone identified the problem. She almost rolled them up for the bank. One glance stopped her cold. That is how these coins enter the world of serious collecting, through one moment of recognition that changes everything. And here's the part that most people never find out. The specific characteristic that separates a common 1967 quarter from a $40 million example is something you can check yourself in under 60 seconds with a 10 times loop. The collector world surrounding this coin is unlike any other I have encountered in covering Washington quarter varieties. Because 1967 represents a unique one-year anomaly in American coinage history, specialists who focus on this era are extraordinarily passionate and extraordinarily competitive. These are collectors who understand that the no-mint mark policy makes authentication both more complex and more compelling, because you cannot simply point to a mint mark for attribution. You have to know the die characteristics intimately. You have to know the doubling pattern by sight. And the ones who do know it, they have built entire collecting careers around finding just one high-grade example of this specific variety. At auction, the tension surrounding confirmed high-grade 1967 double die reverse is unlike anything routine. I have spoken with people who were in the room when one came to market, and the description is always the same. The room gets quiet in a very specific way before the auctioneer even opens a bidding. Collectors who specialize in this coin recognize each other across the room. And when the bidding opens and climbs and two specialists lock into a determined back and forth that takes the price into territory most people would not believe for a quarter, the silence that follows the final gavel is the most expensive silence in numismatics. And right now, someone watching this video might have a 1967 quarter sitting in a jar on their dresser, or tucked into a roll collection they have not touched in years. That someone could genuinely be you. And that is not a figure of speech. Here is exactly what you need to do right now. Find any 1967 quarter. The date is your only identifier since there is no mint mark. Flip it to the reverse. Take your loop and go directly to the eagle's left wing, the one on your right as you look at the coin. On a genuine double die reverse, the leading edge of that wingtip will show a bold secondary impression curving slightly below the primary. Then examine the shield at the eagle's center. The horizontal lines of the shield will appear double with clear, distinct separation. Finally, check United States of America. If each letter carries a shadow running to the southeast, you are looking at history. And if your hand starts shaking at that point, trust the feeling. Now I want to leave you with something real. Something that goes beyond coin values and auction records. The person who first brought a confirmed high-grade example of this 1967 variety to a professional grader did not arrive at that appointment in a luxury car. They arrived in an ordinary vehicle, holding a coin in a plain paper envelope, uncertain whether their eyes had been playing tricks on them for the past 3 days. They had not slept properly. They had checked the coin dozens of times with the same loop under the same lamp. And when the grader looked up from the eyepiece and said the words that confirmed everything, that person sat down in a chair and did not say anything for a very long time. That moment happened. It was real. And the next version of that moment is still out there waiting. Go check your coins. Tonight, not tomorrow. Because someone watching this video right now is sitting on something extraordinary, and that someone deserves to know it. If today gave you something real, something most people watching coin videos will never actually learn, then subscribe and hit the bell, because what is coming to this channel is going to be worth every single notification you receive. This is not a polished sales request. It is just the truth.